Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's January 15th edition, number 2 on the day. Glad that you could be back here joining me this evening as we check out the latest in the forecast here. You can see we've got our next system out over the Pacific Ocean. Looking at the infrared satellite imagery, you can see BC, Washington, Oregon. Arctic air mass is in place across much of the Pacific Northwest, and you can really see it here. You notice how these blues aren't moving here? That's because very cold Arctic air and the infrared satellite imagery is picking up temperature. That's why it doesn't move. It's very cold air mass across much of Canada down into Washington and Oregon here. And one of my pipes is frozen outside. It actually broke one of the hose bibs out there. I hope that doesn't start springing a leak here once things thaw out. Hopefully you all remember to protect your pipes. A prime example of why you do so. Now taking a look here at freezing rain in the forecast, Southwest Washington, you can see I-5, 205, 14, of course, I-84. And this is going to be going on into tomorrow morning, all the way on into Wednesday morning as well. And this is for Western Washington, also I-90, I-5, 405, 101, Highway 18. The only problem with this that I have is that they have not put out a winter weather advisory yet. Even a glaze can be big problems here down into the metro area. And you've got the ice storm warning for a lot of Western Oregon, but nothing for Western Washington yet, except for a winter storm watch way up towards Western Whatcom County. So I'm hoping that goes out soon, because that shows up on smartphones and it shows up on desktop computers, and it really gets the word out to people quite quickly. So hopefully that's coming soon from the National Weather Service Seattle. Taking a look at the freezing rain here all the way on in through Wednesday morning. Some up above half-inch amounts across maybe Hillsborough and some areas in the gorge back there. Portland up towards a half-inch also. You can see lesser amounts once you go down towards Eugene, but all it takes is a glaze to cause some accidents. And once you get up towards a half an inch, you can start doing damage to power lines and trees out there as well. So expect this tomorrow morning on in through Wednesday morning. And taking a look at the National Weather Service Portland, again, the ice storm warning is in effect here from 10 a.m. to 4 a.m. Wednesday. Some big ice accumulations are expected. This is a wider view of things. The pink here is the winter storm warnings. We've got winter weather advisories here in the purple. You can see the winter storm watch across Western Whatcom County. Expecting bigger snowfall amounts there. Maybe a little bit of snow a little bit further south than that, but not too big amounts. We're not expecting any snow across the Seattle Metro or Portland Metro for the most part. The blues here are winter storm watches, as I mentioned. Again, winter weather advisories elsewhere, and you can see the ice storm warning there across Western Oregon into Southwest Washington. Now, taking a look at the storm total snow amounts on in through Spokane. Heaviest snow will occur Tuesday evening through Thursday morning. Look at some of these totals here for Spokane, up towards a foot. Big snowfall incoming from Snoqualmie Pass, Stevens Pass, Leavenworth going to get some nice snowfall. It's going to be just a snow globe out there. And you can see some pretty impressive totals across I-90 and Highway 2 as well. So don't sleep on this system. Some snow all the way down towards Yakima, Sunnyside, Pasco, and Walla Walla, potentially Blue Mountains, and of course on to Idaho Panhandle and Western Montana. Big snow incoming here. And also as we go on into Friday and Saturday, we have to watch out for a freezing rain potential as we go on into that time period here. We're not looking at huge amounts right now, but we'll update that as we get closer. Widespread snow Tuesday night into Thursday, again for Idaho and Montana. And this yellow here shows a possibility of greater than 4-inch snow totals. And you can see just a wide swath. I mean, you're talking about Helen up 73% there. There's Great Falls and Kellogg out there, Spokane. So big amounts incoming here, folks. This is looking at Western Montana right here, and you can actually see this flood advisory out there. That's from ice flows out there on one of the rivers, and you can see we've got some wind chill advisories, winter storm watches, warnings, winter weather advisories, all kinds of stuff going on here. Pretty dynamic storm rolling in, and this is that minor flooding, some low-lying and poor drainage areas here. Flooding caused by ice jam is expected. So just interesting stuff out there, and some of that might be going on across some of Western Montana as well. If it wasn't such a dynamic storm, I'd think about driving over there, but it would probably take a long time. Now, anyway, looking at the European here on the left versus the GFS on the right, 18Z, we're looking at 500 millibars here, 18,000 feet. You can see our next storm system coming in here. And then we actually get a little bit of a low swing and passes on the European, a little bit more pronounced. We could actually bring a little bit more snowfall as we go through Wednesday afternoon, evening. It could bring some lower snow levels, but that won't be associated with much Arctic air getting back into the region here. And by this time, the Arctic air in place currently will be scoured out, but we just kind of have to watch that over the next few days as well. Keep that in the back of your mind. And as we go on to the extended forecast, we're going to get active again here across the Gulf of Alaska. I'll do one more map on that here coming up, but just want to kind of stick that in the back of your mind. Also, as we go on towards the end of January, probably going to be a wet, stormy pattern. Now, looking at the European 18Z, we're looking at 6-hour precipitation by type. Now, here we go. This is about 10 a.m. Wednesday, and this is just afternoon tomorrow on Tuesday. You can see that ice storm, and that's why they have that ice storm across much of the Willamette Valley here. And you can see the freezing rain moving up towards some of the Seattle Metro, Tacoma, Olympia, down towards Chehalis and Kelso possibly, and up across the Puget Sound. And it doesn't take much, folks, to make things really slick and people start falling down on the sidewalk. You guys know the drill. Ice storms can be quite impactful with just the slightest amount of glaze. And you can see some of the snow flying as we go on in through Tuesday nighttime there and then on through Wednesday morning. Southwest BC, some nice snowfall totals incoming here as well. And I'll kind of show you some maps here coming up showing you the cutoff. It's a tough forecast up here, but you could see, up over 4 inches across some of the Vancouver Metro here in some portions of Vancouver Island. Big snow incoming for the Cascades, as I showed earlier as well. An additional round of snow for some of the Cascades of Oregon. Then you can see that warm up here. It really, as we go through the day Wednesday, we should be done with a lot of the freezing rain here across western Washington. Again, except for up towards Whatcom County here, where things could stay cooler as we go through Wednesday evening and the storm system passes through. And we could have a little bit of lower snow level stuff going on here, but for the most part, it'll be the end of that system. The threat with this next one here is that back into the foothills and some of the past areas of the Gorge, eastern Washington, as we go through late Thursday night into Friday morning, you still could get some freezing rain back up into the tucked away valleys up there as well. And then maybe eventually into eastern Washington as we go on through Friday and Saturday. Now, taking a look at what's going on here. So you can see the dew point temperature here, and this is the characteristic of an Arctic air mass. Very dry air. That is the prime characteristic here. And you can see the temperatures that we got to today. I mean, we got, 36, 37 at my house, but the air is still extremely dry. So let me put this into motion and kind of show you what's going on. We're going to go through on into tomorrow, and we're going to warm things up a bit here across some western Washington. But then when the precipitation comes in, you're going to get some of that evaporative cooling. You notice how the temperature dropped back down and the dew point's still fairly low across Olympia, Tacoma, and Seattle. That's because that evaporative cooling, that dry air, once the precipitation falls through it, it evaporates and you get this cooling in the atmosphere here. And so that's why temperature going to drop back down towards freezing here for some of the Seattle area. It's going to be really close, very marginal, but some of the areas are going to be both freezing across the Puget Sound here and some freezing rain most likely to occur. And look what's going on this entire time down across some of western Oregon here. As you've got that cold air conduit that goes on into eastern Washington and it allows that flow of air just to come out there. And if you spend the time in the 20-degree range, 25-degree range out there, you're going to really pile up that ice quite quickly on the surfaces that freezing rain is falling. Now, take a look at the dew points right now, and you can see that we clearly have that Arctic air mass in place. This is the Portland Metro, and you can see plenty of single digits and lower teens showing up there, showing you that we do have the Arctic air mass in place. If you look up towards the Seattle Metro, ignore that 33 here, but you can see there's some single digits and some lower teens also. So that's a sign that the Arctic air mass is still in place. I clicked on a random station here around Kent East Hill, and you can see the dew point 9 on the Tempest weather station here as well. And I'll put that link in below if you want to buy one of these weather stations. You can see them all over the place here, and you can click and get all that data for you here. Pretty fun to look at here when you want to find out what the temperatures are, what the dew point is, or when the lightning strikes were last recorded. Now, taking a look at the NAM 3 cam, I want to show you something here. We're looking at the Portland Metro right there, and we're looking at 80-meter wind speeds on the right, and this is the 12Z versus the 18Z here, but not too much has changed. You'll get the gist. Now, taking a look, you can see that east flow still coming through the gorge and down the Willamette Valley. So that's reinforcing some of the cold air back into the Willamette Valley as we go on into very early Tuesday morning. You'll see the precipitation starting to arrive. Gorge winds are still blowing. That means the cold air is still coming out into the Portland Metro. And you can see the freezing rain now starting to overspread that very cold air at the surface across western Oregon. That's why that ice storm is in effect right there. Then you can see some of this freezing rain moving up towards Olympia also. But I wanted to show you that how long those gorge winds hang on all the way in towards Tuesday night, actually, on the latest NAM here. But you can see the southerly starting to come up once you get in towards later tomorrow night here across some of the Willamette Valley, and it's going to try to scour that thin layer of cold air out, and it might be successful in doing so pretty rapidly. And I'll show you the Seattle map here next. I'm getting ahead of myself, but you can see some of the easterlies coming through the Stampede Gap, and here's Seattle right there. And again, 6-hour precipitation type. And as we scroll on in through tomorrow, You see the gorge winds blowing, like I mentioned. Then that freezing rain tries to move up towards some of Olympia. Seattle, still that easterly component there. So you're still getting kind of that offshore flow. But once those winds turn southerly, it's going to start to work on the air mass pretty quickly. And you can see things start to change over to rain here sometime very early Wednesday morning, probably at the latest here. Probably a few hours of some freezing rain across the Seattle metro. Shouldn't accumulate to too much, but a tenth of an inch is pretty problematic here. And also, what else I want to point out, let's back up here. And I'm going to go back towards where the precipitation is coming towards Bellingham. You can see the Fraser River outflow still going on during this time. So some of the snow is going to be flying maybe across some of the San Juans, Southwest BC, Vancouver Island should be getting snow as we go on in through Wednesday morning. And you can see some of this freezing rain showing up across Bellingham, and you can see the Fraser River outflow out of the northeast underneath that. So that could be reinforcing that shallow, cold level of air there across Bellingham, and you're spreading that freezing rain back up over the top of it. Pretty interesting dynamic there. And the column looks like it's going to be cool enough on the north side of that here that it's going to continue to be some snow as we go on into Wednesday across Southwest BC. Now, taking a look at Salem, I've been showing this the last couple days as well. This gives you a nice cross section here. You're looking at about 5,000 feet right here, and here's the surface. You can see that sub-freezing layer trapped there, and you're getting rainfall here, 5,000, 2,500 feet, and when it falls through that thin layer, it just attaches to anything. It's going to be frozen down there and just create some great ice sculpture shapes on whatever it's coating. You can see this is Eugene a little bit further south, that sub-freezing air there. Not expecting as much down south towards Eugene versus Salem and Portland, however. This is Portland International. And again, you can imagine the air flowing out of the east here, kind of continuing to feed that low level sub-freezing layer of air near the Portland metro. Here's Olympia, something similar there also. And you can see the warmer tongue above it, similar for Seattle. Now looking at the European, I just want to show you here what's been going on. As you can see, the low pressure center moving in, not much of a change between the 18Z and the 12Z, coming up actually even a hair deeper here on the 18Z. And that will try to flood a little bit of warmer air in there. So it's probably not going to be freezing rain for long in Seattle if I had to guess. But as you can imagine, if this low just comes in a little bit further, that can really change the trajectory of some of these winds here in the Puget Sound area. So it might give us another few hours of some freezing precipitation. Now I want to show you the GFS here as well, as models are in pretty good agreement, but the GFS has been further south with that low pressure system, which would keep things cooler here. But I'm totally in favor of what the European is showing right now. And you can see that GFS kind of bounce with that low pressure system a little bit further north as we go on in through the day Wednesday also. But I also want to address something here, because this is total snow on the GFS 18Z versus 12. You're going to see, and you probably have already, some of these crazy snow runs on the GFS showing up. I do not expect these to take place, and I just want to kind of nip that in the bud a little bit here. You can see some of these huge amounts. Everett, Arlington up here, Anacortes, Southwest BC is probably going to get good snowfall amounts, and some of Bellingham is as well, and probably Vancouver Island at times. But I don't expect to see any of this snow down towards the Seattle area. The GFS is most likely overdoing this. And some of the other high resolution models are also showing that being confined up towards Whatcom County, maybe a little bit further south, but definitely not 8 inches incoming here to Everett, for example. We're not expecting that. This is Bellingham, and you can see some nice amounts showing up in these ensemble runs here, all 50 of them kind of showing some nice snowfall incoming here. But as you saw in the NAM3 cam, this could also change over to freezing rain at a time. Now taking a look at Spokane International Airport, nice snowfall incoming, nice dry totals out there as well. Fluffy snow incoming. The mean is up over 6 inches as you go on in through Wednesday night. And you can see the control run even has more, up towards 7. So looking off into the extent a little bit here, you can see the GFS starts to bring these systems in here. And I'm just going to keep scrolling ahead here because I just want to give you an example of what's coming. You can see the rainfall just kind of piling up here, January 22nd, 23rd, 24th. You guys get the gist here. We might be returning to this active, more warmer and a lot less snowfall here for the lower elevations, and kicking out that Arctic air mass all the way through the end of January. Some pretty impressive totals showing up here across the Pacific Northwest, even some of California, and up and down western BC towards southeast Alaska also. And this is the 6 to 10 day. This is updated today as well. Goes through January 25th. You can see the above average temperature. So this Arctic air mass is going to be a distant memory here in a few days. If you can make it, just hold on, It's bide your time a little bit more here. We're almost through this Arctic air mass. 6 to 10 day, all the way through January 25th as well. You can see above average across much of the west coast here as we go towards the end of January for precipitation chances. But yeah, anyway, I'll do my normal briefing again tomorrow. We'll check things out. The precipitation should be just approaching the Oregon coast. I do the briefing tomorrow here, and we'll revisit the models, see what they have to say, see if they throw any last minute surprises our way. And anyway, yeah, I hope to talk to you guys then. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I'll see you guys then.